Marketing mix. In this video, we're going to study about the concept of marketing mix, which is part of your module 4. The concepts that we'll look at in this module are your marketing mix and the 7 P's that make up your marketing mix: product, price, place, promotion, people, process, and physical evidence. Only a brief of what they are, because we will be looking at individual modules which will describe each of the 4 P's, and not the extended P's, which would be part of the service marketing. After that, we'll look at product life cycle and what are the strategies which are used by marketers during the product life cycle. To begin with, something that we have already looked at in the introduction of marketing, the first module, the 7 P's that make up your marketing mix: product, promotion, price, place, people, process, and physical evidence. Under each of this, we have to expand what are the elements that we look at in an essential mix when we talk about product, and what are the different things that are looked at. Everything that's listed out there: product variety, quality, features, design, brand name, packaging, sizes, services, warranties, etc. Under price, we'll look at list price, discounts. There are different pricing strategies which we will learn in one of the chapters, which will talk extensively about price and different pricing strategies, promotion and different promotional strategies, and advertising, how different they are, public relations, direct marketing, place or distribution, your different channels, coverage, assortments, locations, inventory, transport, which would be part of your place. And these are the core 4 P's which would be part of your entire marketing management study. In here, only listed for you to understand what essentially make up the concept of marketing mix. That's all that we have in here. Only if you're unable to understand. Once we learn the individual modules on each of this, all these things which are listed in here will start making more sense. So we wouldn't delve deeper into this at this moment. I've listed this separately as far as people, process, and physical evidence are concerned, because these are extended P's which only come as part of your service marketing. In the context of service marketing, let's take an example and understand each of this. Let's say a hotel. When you're talking about a hotel, we are talking about people as your restaurant staff. In a big hotel will have a restaurant, so all staffs who make up in your restaurant, your waiters and your cook, the receptionist at a hotel, the room service person. Room service could also be your baggage service, and room service who actually comes to your room. The laundry service person, the hotel manager, and any other person who make up as part of an entire hotel management as far as hotel services people are concerned. People who directly interact, maybe direct or indirect interaction with the customer, or people like the laundry service person may not be interacting with the customer. Sometimes the cook may or may not, if it's a large 5-star hotel. Sometimes the cook may have to interact, and sometimes the cook may not interact with the customer. But all the people who make up a service organization or a service business are people, and it's basically people who extend the service to the um, customer. Process talks about the entire delivery of your service, because service is something which is not a product. You don't, it's not a one time buy. It goes through a process wherein a customer goes through an experience. It's an experience for a customer, and he pays for that experience. So every time a customer checks into a hotel, till the time he checks out, everything that happens in between is the process that is clearly documented and defined as a blueprint. I wouldn't go deeper into because this would be in future for marketers, people, students who will take up marketing will learn the service blueprint. Service blueprint is something which is very important for every service organization, because if you have a blueprint, you understand what happens as soon as the customer checks in. who's the next person who's going to be talking to him, what happens next after service. After he checks in, he moves to the hotel, and then he moves to the room, and then you provide him a room service at a particular appointed time, and different services that the customer might cater to. But there is a process which goes through an entire check-in to check-out, and there are different people involved. There is also technology involved. So there would be front-end people who interact with the customer, and there's a back-end support also. Like for receptionist, even though she's greeting you and then she enters all your details into the computer, there is a back-end team which maintains the computer. There's a problem with the system, then there is an IT person who will come in and actually fix it up. So the entire process has people as well as the process on how it goes about. Physical evidence is nothing but the way the hotel is set up, the entire ambience, not just the entrance, but the parking lot, the garden, the room as such, because that is the most important uh, experience that the hotel is providing to the customer. So all of it, every aesthetics about the entire hotel is what builds up towards providing the physical evidence, and that kind of entices the customer whether he would take up the service the next time or not. In terms of product, we have looked at this example in the past in your introductions. I've just reiterated this example for your understanding or for your revision of your understanding of the marketing mix. In terms of McDonald's, 4Ps are listed here. What is their product mix? They have different sets of products, different product lines, uh, which they offer to the customers. And how do they distribute? They have different channels of distribution, not just restaurants, kiosks. They also have mobile apps, and they also have a drive-in. They also have drive-ins at certain places. What are the kind of promotional tactics that they always use, whether it is online advertising, offline, or sales promotions through direct marketing or through public relations. McDonald's, then what are the kind of strategies? They use a lot of combo pricing or a bundle pricing, the other word, and they do use a lot of psychological pricing. It's always 99 or 199 or 249, and it's always a combo. It's generally a combo. This is what they generally use. It will be fries, burger along with a Pepsi, and that combo would cost lesser, whereas taking a Pepsi separately. Having spoken about marketing mix, all the 7 P's, the 4 P's about product, price, promotion, and place, and the extended piece of people, process, and physical evidence, we'll look at the product life cycle. Every product goes through a life cycle, just like a business goes through a life cycle. You would have studied the business life cycle, how a business goes from introduction stage to the decline stage. Similarly, uh, a product also goes through a similar stage. Initially, the introduction, where the product is introduced into the market, uh, whether it is an established company introducing a new product or whether it is a completely new brand or new company which is coming into the market, doesn't matter. Um, whether it's a product-based company. This period would see a lot of slow sales. You just introduced. Profit would not be something that you would start making in the initial phase, and you would be incurring a lot of costs, because the kind of cost that you would incur is majorly marketing costs, because you've just introduced it and you have to ensure that you create a lot of awareness among the market. And depending on whether you're introducing it in three or four markets or just one market, initially you start with a smaller market and then you try to expand once you grow. The next stage is growth, wherein we look at each of these stages in detail. This is just a brief understanding of the stage. We look at in each stage in detail, as well as what are the strategies that are used in each of these stages, specifically the marketing strategies, because that's what we are trying to understand. Growth is a period of rapid market acceptance. What happens is that there is some kind of profit, some kind of revenue coming in. You're somehow kind of going beyond you're starting to make some profit. You're breaking even at this point in time. But there is maturity at the next stage. And maturity, what happens at this stage generally, there is you have reached that top level. You have reached a level wherein you have started making good amount of profits. Most of the people are aware of you, and you're already accepted. You're like, wouldn't say you're like a leader in the market, but you're already among the top known players in the market. Your brand is very well known. You don't have to do too much of marketing efforts to push your product in the market. Profits will be a lot, in more cases, it will be stabilized, but it can decline because this is a stage. After the stage itself is a decline stage. It's kind of at that borderline. You have grown towards a maturity stage. Now, a maturity stage is the most important stage, which will make or break your product. You have done everything to introduce your product. You've grown. Now, at this stage, it all depends. The success of a brand or success of a product depends on how long you can stay at this stage. If you can stay at a maturity stage for a longer period of time, you are going to be successful in the market. But you'll have competition. Definitely, there are competitors who will try different techniques to ensure that you go into a decline stage and they go into a maturity stage. It's always going to be that way. So, there'll be a slowdown, not a slowdown, but there'll be stabilization in your revenue that is coming in. You may not have too much, but you'll have a kind of a even revenue coming in from the product. Decline is when you show a downward drift and your profits start eroding. It at this time you'll try a lot of different techniques to maintain and come back and not decline. We'll see those kind of strategies too. Essentially, a bell curve is what your entire PLC would look like, sales and profits on the y-axis as well as time on the x-axis. You're moving in from introduction, growth, maturity, and decline, and sales would definitely, just the way we spoke about it, maturity it's really high and introduction is not really, and profits start breaking even when you are really moving up towards your sales, basically you'll say towards your maturity phase. Not a very complicated graph to understand. Product life cycles. In trying to understand the product life cycles, you need to understand why a product is measured through its life cycle. Because the products, all products have a limited life. Nothing lasts forever. There is probably no product in the market that you would have purchased like 10 years back, which is still there and still very effective and very productive. Unless it's a market leader, you'd only have two or three competitors. There's always a new product in the market. The brand itself tries to come up with new products. Products have a limited life. Product sales passes through all these different stages, each posing different challenges, opportunities, and problems to the seller. Profits rise and fall at different stages of the product life cycle. Products require different marketing, financial, manufacturing, purchasing, and human resource strategies in each life cycle stage. Having understood this, this is how the requirement. That's why we study each of these stages, and that's why we employ different strategies in each of these stages. And what are the strategies? We'll look at those strategies in the coming slides. Introduction stage. What exactly is an introduction stage? What happens during this stage? This stage takes a longer time to roll out a new product because you will face problems here. Problems that you may not have anticipated, no matter how much of market research you might have done before introducing your product into a new market segment. It will take time for the consumer to accept you. Your sales growth tends to be slow in the introduction stage. Profits are negative or low. Promotional expenditure are at the highest. You'll take a lot of marketing expense because you want people to know about you. Highest At the highest ratio to sales because of the need to inform. Why do you want to do so much of promotional expenditure? You need to inform potential consumers. Induce product trial. You want people to try your product. You see at this stage, sometimes they will give free. They call the concept of test marketing, where you'll have free bundles, free samples being offered with some other product, like free small sachets of shampoos along with bigger shampoo sachets. May not be the same brand. It might be a new different brand or something like soap along with free along with something else. Smaller size is because they want you to try it out. And if you are happy with it, if it's a good product, you will come back to purchase that product. Secure distribution in retail outlet. It's not easy if you're a new product to just go and get a distribution in a retail outlet. Shelf space, a lot of major players start fighting for shelf space. They pay for shelf space. No retail owner is going to just keep a new product in their shelf unless you come up with tactics. Somehow you have to convince them, or you come up with a deal with them. Prices definitely tend to be higher. Costs are high. Firms focus on buyers who are the most ready to buy. So you cannot just target a super wide segment. That would be like a failure. You have to decide your segment. You have to go with a smaller segment, you have to go with a smaller marketplace, and then try to expand based on the profits that start kicking in. You'll always have a high product failure rate at this stage, relatively few competitors, because you're just entering in. If you are very unique, you may not have too many competitors, or if it's a market which is an overcrowded market and it's an overcrowded brand or a product which you're introducing, you will have a lot of competitors. Let's say you're coming up with a pickle brand, there's already enough people who are selling pickle out there. You're coming up with a chips brand, there's already enough people selling chips out there. It's about what you're providing new. If you are coming up with a new chips brand, then what is it new that you have to offer? How do you break even? Limited distribution, often exclusive or selective distribution. Um, you wouldn't get the kind of distribution that products are at a maturity stage. It would be very limited channels that you would have to your advantage. Frequent product modification. Yes, this is not always the case, but sometimes when you have a failure, you may have to try something new. You may have to get back to the drawing board, say, okay, something didn't work out. Maybe we should try something else. Maybe we went to the very bland flavor of chips. We didn't understand this market. Nobody is buying this chip. Maybe we need to do further market research, understand what is it that they like, and do a product modification and come back with a special category of chips, different tastes. I'm using chips as an example. It could be anything. You may not go through a modification of a high-end electronic product. You've already pre-decided. It's not so easy to change it. What are the marketing strategies that you will, having understood the introduction stage? It's important that you understand the introduction stage very clearly, understand what happens in this stage, because based on what you understand what happens in the stage, you would employ the strategies accordingly. Majorly, the strategies are nothing much. It's pricing. Two different pricing strategies you'll use. You either go with a skimming pricing strategy or you'll go with a penetration pricing strategy. A skimming, the word skim, the word skimming comes from what do you say, boiling milk. When we boil milk, the upper layer, the layer that we develop on top, and some people like to have that layer. Me personally, I do. So you skim that layer off, right? You skim that layer off, and you try to only serve the other portion of the milk. That skimming is only the top layer. So skimming pricing strategies are used by certain brands. Let's say iPhone uses that. Top brands use that. Sony uses that. A lot of brands, they use the high value price products. Oppo used that when they came to the market. You'll price your product so high that you won't get too many takers. You won't get too many buyers. Your buyers will be very less. But what you will do is first you'll price high, say 45,000 will be your mobile for 50,000. You won't get like thousands of customers, you may get hundreds of customers. Okay. You're making profit. Somehow your profit margin is still there because 100 customers into your 50,000 or 1,000 customers into your 5,000 is going to be the same thing profit that you're trying to make up. So what you'll try to do is slowly skimming pricing strategy, you'll try to skim the top level of the market over a period of time. As your product is being adopted and you move from introduction to your growth state, you will start reducing the prices. You start reducing the prices to say 45,000, 40,000, 35,000 to capture a bigger market, because they have already understood the value. It's like a high value product getting at a smaller, lesser rate. This is what most of the brands do. Higher value brands mostly happens with consumer electronics and such products. Not does not happen with your general condiments or your general like chips and all that we spoke of, or eatables. Penetration pricing strategy. The next strategy is the opposite, complete opposite, where you'll try to penetrate a larger market and you'll price the product at a very low price. You will say price at similar strategy. You will say, who tried to do this? If I have to pick up the same mobile segment, MI did this a lot. MI came up with very low cost products with very good features, similar features that 20,000 phone would provide. They would provide the same phone in 8,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees. Trying to highlight one feature of the product, let's say battery phone, camera phone. They did all of that. They tried those techniques, or gaming phone, high value processor. Everything else is not so good, but they came and they captured a different markets which could not afford smartphones but started now affording smartphones. Realme, many other things came up later. There's brands like Realme, and then there are some more brands I'm not able to recollect. But there's a host of brands right now in that category. But earlier they weren't, so competition was less. Now competition is more. So they came up with this penetration pricing strategy. So price is one technique which is used to create a new category segment. Oppo created new category segment. There were no phones selling in 40,000 plus, right? Apart from iPhone and some other bigger phones, they said let's capture that segment. We only want people above 40,000 who can afford above 40,000. Third strategy, ensure that your product is available, always available. This happens for products which are sold offline. If a product is out of stock always in every store that you go to or online, you will definitely go to the competitor. So always ensure that it is in stock. So inventory planning has to be done very well. Your channel distribution has to be done very well. You don't want to introduce a product in the market and always be out of stock. You want, if it's really clicks, you want to be there. Promotions, you put a lot of money into marketing because you want people to be aware about your product. You want people to understand what your product is all about. And that's why you do a lot of heavy promotions to create awareness on all the different channels. That's what you would do in the marketing strategies for introduction stage. During the growth stage, however, what you would do during the growth stage, the characteristics of the growth stage, here in this stage, you will have more competitors and less product distinctiveness. You have reached a stage wherein you have started, a little amount of profits have started trickling in. People have started getting to know about your brand. People have understood what your brand is all about, what your product is all about. People have started buying your product. Your marketing strategies, your pricing strategies have worked. So that's why people have understood your product, so they started buying your product. You're getting more profitable returns. There are what do you say? There is rising sales. Your company, now, what are the other things that can happen here at this point? Typically, what can happen is you definitely have more profitable returns and rising sales. You will have more competitors because you've just entered a different segment where you started to make some kind of noise. Your product distinctiveness will be less. You have started making sales on a one particular product type, so you won't make too many changes. Why should you make changes on a product which is really working good? Distinctiveness is something we'll see in the next stage. You'll start making changes only when you reach a maturity level. You have large enough money that you can start modifying products. We'll see that as a strategy in the maturity stage. But in here, why I'm mentioning that is for you to understand that less product distinctiveness. You have products which are selling, you will make good profit, so you don't want to change anything there. Company or product acquisition by larger competitors. There could be competitors. We see that a lot these days. Byju's is acquiring almost every other competitor which is out there. Unacademy is making well. Byju's has a good amount of money. They see that Unacademy is actually making a lot of profit. So they actually purchase Unacademy. They purchase a lot of smaller edtech platforms because they realize these are upcoming brands. We do not want competitors to reach a maturity stage and fight with us. We want them to be at the growth stage and we'll purchase them at the growth stage because they are doing well. They have enough competitors. I mean, they have enough customers. We'll utilize their customers and make them our customers. So Byju's has been purchasing a lot. A lot of big competitors do this. Infosys does this. TCS does this. All the big players, they look at all the other players in different segments who are growing, who reach the growth stage, and they try to acquire. So you will ensure that there's going to be a buy deal coming towards you, and it's the smartness, or rather, it's on the prerogative of the CEO, rather the owner, to decide whether he wants to be acquired, he wants to sell, or he wants to give a fight to these competitors at a later stage. It's not an easy decision to be taken by a owner of the company at this stage. What are the marketing strategies he can employ at this stage? The promotional expenditure should still be high, should still feature not as high as the marketing budget in your introductory stage because you're still growing. You have not reached maturity. Want to reach maturity. So you want to basically talk about your product, how well your product is being bought, how well you have customers in your being product. You have to showcase your popularity. You have to showcase your about everything, probably your quality, your styling, how different you are. You have to talk about those things. In this stage, you can probably decide to add new models, different sizes. You basically add new to ensure that it's not about a huge modification in your main product. You just changing a few things, few features into your existing. Like Lay's does this a lot. Lay's one product is all time or every time sold, but Lay's will come up with new flavors. Is it because the earlier flavor is not selling well? No. It's just that they add because they know that consumers want something different. They want a different taste. Even though one is working, more you create, you give them a choice because the other one also will work. The old one will work, but the new one also could click, and that could click better than the earlier one. Now that you have the money, you can enter different segments in terms of different criteria. You can go into different high income segments, you can go into different age segments, and you can even enter segments by area. You can enter new locations because you've started making money in one location. You become popular, you know that you can click in another location. That's why you start small and then you grow big. Increases its distribution coverage and enters new distribution channels. So you can try different distribution channels. If you are offline as an offline store, you can also come up with a online store. So you can become an omni-channel kind of practice, which you can come up with. You can start selling both ways to basically increase your sales and increase your customer coverage, increase your reach. You can shift from awareness and trial communications to preference and loyalty communications. So now that you have people, loyalty is an aspect which has been spoken about in the past. You want to take up those customers which are or repeat customers, and you want them to come back to you again and again. You try to lower price to attract the next layer of price sensitive buyers. Remember, if you started with the penetration pricing strategies, then now it's time for you to reduce it because you can capture a new segment. That is what you can do. That's what this strategy talks about. So a host of strategies that you can try in the growth stage. The growth stage gives you that flexibility to try more, to try gives you a flexibility because you have profits coming in. Even though you may not have you may not have that level of profit where you can say I can try something completely new, but you have this to your advantage these different strategies based on the kind of revenue that is coming into you. Next stage, maturity stage. In this stage, what happens? In this stage, essentially, sales continue to grow, but at a very what do you say increasing rate. It depends upon how, I mean, varies from brand to brand, varies from category to category, varies from product to product. But sales will continue to grow. For some, it is like sales continue to be at a peak level. I would say if you look at a Geo example, Geo reached maturity quite fast. From the introduction to growth to maturity, it really reached quite fast. And Geo remained at a maturity for a longer time until there were regulations, until other players started merging. Vodafone merged with Idea and everything else. Airtel started adding towers, started getting in more kind of marketing efforts, trying different techniques. But maturity is at a stage where you are really at a point where sales can be really high or sales can be even. Attempts to differentiate or stabilize, rather, the word I was looking at. Attempts to differentiate and redifferentiate the product. So you will try to you're at your what do you say disposal to try to differentiate the product from the competitor, because now you are at a stage where you're going to be competing with a lot of people, and your competitors are not going to be leaving you in this stage. They'll ensure that you go to decline stage as quickly as possible. Maturity is more of a, what do you say, it's a very the sharp stage. It's a stage at the even though it's a bell curve, you see it's a bell curve, but it can also be a pinpointed curve at the top of the iceberg. You can be at that curve in such a way that you can fall off immediately to the decline stage, and other competitors will try to do that because they don't want you being there at a maturity stage. If you're too long in the maturity stage, it's like you're an established player. So you will try to, what marketers will do, brands will do, they'll try to attempt to differentiate and redifferentiate the product in different ways. Prices beginning to fall in battles to retain market share. Profits begin to fall correspondingly. This is what would happen in what do you say in at the maturity stage. If you are basically reaching a point, you do not know what market share you're trying to be basically trying to use up, or it's more like you have so much percentage chunk of the market share, and you could really basically the prices begin. Basically, you have this competitive war or price war that starts breaking out. Increasing brand and inventory rationalization amongst retailers and distributors. So, retailers as well as distributors also have more amount of options right now. So there's going to be a, there's going to be a lot of negotiations happening on that end too. Marginal manufacturers retiring from the market when faced with severe competition and reduced margins. So what happens is that at this point, two things can happen. When you know there are other players reaching at a higher level, just like I stated, what happened in the growth stage, competitions can either fail, okay, or they can completely move out. People move out. There are a lot of people, marginal manufacturers, who will start when they have too much of competition. They know they cannot survive in the market. They are actually going towards a decline state. They can either sell off or completely retire out. So this is what can happen. These are essentially things that happen at a maturity stage. That is, can happen to the different organizations who are either competing, reach that stage and has remained that stage for a long time, or have just entered that stage. Any of these things could happen to them. What are the strategies for them to continue to remain at this stage for a longer time? That is what the strategies is. The essential idea for you to is remain there for a longer time. You can do something called market modification and expand number of brand users and the usage rate per customer. I mean, we'll see what this is. I'll just show that to you before we move on to the product modification and marketing program modification. Market modification. So what do? Expand brand number of brand users or usage rate per customers. A technique which is used to increase your sales volume so that people start buying more from you. You convert non-users. The key to the growth of air freight service, an example, was the constant search for new users to whom air carriers could demonstrate the benefits of using air freight rather than ground transportations. People who are not using air flight anymore, you want them also to start taking your airline service. This was something SpiceJet did very well. SpiceJet initially introduced and created such nice pricing segments that even your railway first class railway ticket was equivalent to your flight ticket economy class. A person who could travel in a first class train, pay for 13 hours of AC train service from Mangalore to Bangalore, you would rather take up a SpiceJet Mangalore to Bangalore in 1999, or I remember it was pretty cheap. It was 999 plus taxes. So 1000 plus taxes. That was what it was. So it would come somewhere come to around 1600 rupees. That's all you're paying for a 2 hour for a 1 hour flight service. And to be precise, it's 45 minutes between Mangalore to Bangalore as a flight service, and including to and fro from the airport. So you say 3 hours compared to 13 hours of travel. Convert non-users. Very good technique which was used, and I think that's a good example where air freight has been given as an example. Enter new market segments. As example is given here, when Goodyear decided to sell its tires in Walmart, Sears, and discount tires, it immediately boosted its market share. So Goodyear was probably selling its tires only in what do you say, markets where high profile, where only tires are sold, but they also started selling in Walmart is known for the people visit there to buy lower priced products at very good products at a lower price or volume segments. We have an example of Walmart here in Mangalore called D-Mart. A lot of people purchase at D-Mart because they know we can get the similar products buy in bulk quantity at a lower price. Big Bazaar, D-Mart, Spar, all of these compete with each other. So enter new market segments where you can start selling your same product through different market segments. Attract competitive customers. So uh, you basically try to do one better. If and you have these, sometimes you have these ads which show the it's negative advertising, where you're trying to show how well you are better than the competitor in terms of a particular feature that the competitor highlighted, and you'll say I'm better in that same feature and show you the same highlight again. Increase the usage rate. Okay, so increase the usage rate based on certain particular occasions. You tell them how to use the usage. Okay, how to basically increase on certain occasions, have a constant use about that product on particular occasion, increase. So the idea is, if you've been using it once, make them use it more than once. Okay, have consumers use more of the product on each occasion. Drink a larger glass of orange juice. If you have been selling I mean, this is not always easy to do, but if you have been selling cartons of so much price, and then you sell at a larger box, and you probably price that at a very competitive rate where he can purchase that instead of purchasing a smaller bottle. Have consumers use the product in new ways. Now, there's an example given there is Tums antacid as a calcium supplement. So it's an antacid, even though it's an antacid. Antacid is something like your pantoprazole or anything which is used for gastritis, but they are saying it is used as a calcium supplement. I don't know how they managed to do that, but the idea is different brands can increase usage rates, make them use it multiple times. Chocolates do this. Chocolates basically come up with, I think, Dairy Milk does that a lot. Apart from Dairy Milk, normal Dairy Milk, which is always stocked there, Dairy Milk with a brand awareness ad, Dairy Milk will come up with multiple varieties during occasions. So they will tell you, purchase Dairy Milk during festivals, use Dairy Milk during festival, use it as a gift someone. So it's like increasing usage rate. If they had not to do that, why would I buy a chocolate? That festive occasion specific chocolate, Raksha Bandhan chocolate, or Ganesh Chaturthi times chocolate. I can come up with the occasion. I can come up with Independence Day chocolates. I mean, it's on me. Whether people buy it or not, it's just I'm trying. That's a marketing technique. So market modification, number one strategy. Second strategy, product modification. So I can modify the entire product. This I can do at a maturity stage because I have the amount of revenue to do this. I can improve quality. I can improve the features, or I can improve the style. Quality, I can come up with a new functional performance, launch a new and improved product. This is generally done by most of the companies. I can think of an auto company right now. Let's look at the best example is Swift. Swift is a very famous car model which has been highly effective product which has been selling by Maruti for quite a long time. What does Maruti do here? It every year or every 2 years now, it launches a new Swift model. Last year it launched one, and then it launches. They don't do too much of changes, very slight changes. Probably they'll come up with new grill, front grill changing, or maybe a sports car. They'll come up with limited edition car. Or quality wise, no, that I would say feature wise, feature and style. If I'm talking about only outer looks, that would be feature, not the quality. Quality would be come up with a better engine, come up with an engine which gives a better mileage. So next, people probably come up with there was only 1 liter engine, come up with 1.2 liter engine which gives a better mileage. So, say it would used to give 18 liters per kilometer. I mean 18 kilometers per liter. Now it gives 21 kilometers per liter. That's quality improvement, new and improved. 2021 Swift. Swift 2021 can do this. Feature improvement. So you can add size, weight, material, supplements, accessories that expand the product's performance, versatility, safety, or convenience. Again, I can use the same Swift example. Accessorize it, come up with sports edition, come up with different colors. There are different segments who will purchase it. Come up with, earlier Swift used to be only sold in normal car tires. Now you give them mag wheels, you give them, say, a spoiler at the end, you give different modifications on the cars. Features, add features. Style, improvement, increase the product aesthetic appeal, the looks. Looks also can come up with various colors. Say Swift is available only in 4 colors right now, 4 or 5. Provide a host of colors, so provide 10 to 15 colors. Provide black. I have not seen black Swift till date on the road. People modify and make a black Swift, but I have not seen Maruti selling a black Swift. I would purchase a black Swift if they had something on offer. So it's different. There are people who take that Swift, use it for a few years, and then completely paint it black. Imagine Maruti does that. Why don't they do it? I don't know why they're not doing it, but it will sell. Marketing program modification, price, distribution, and communication. So you can completely change non-product related features. Earlier we looked at market related features. Then we looked at product related features. Now we're looking at non-product related features. What are non-product related features? You can change the price. Okay. You can play around with price now. You can change the complete distribution, the way you completely distribute the product to the consumer. And you can change your communication channels. Come up with new communication channels. Change the way you communicate to the consumer. Probably through different ad communication platforms. It's just the way how you communicate your offer to the consumer. Decline stage. What happens at the final stage? At this stage, sales completely fall. There's going to be a lot of price war. because sales are falling. There is going to be, you have to survive in the market, so you will try to cut your costs completely. Producers decide to abandon the market, as I remember mentioning earlier. If you're trying to go to the brink of decline, you know you're declining. So what's the best point is to basically sell out, come out, abandon. A lot of companies, you've seen a lot of companies which have done really well and they are no longer in the market now, not to be heard of. Uh, they do quite well for a few years. We hear about them, and then they are just completely out of the market. Shifts in consumer taste, increase domestic and foreign competition. So consumers' taste will change. They may no longer like the product that you are selling. I mean, there are many. There were different. Let's say Ambassador was a very popular car. What happened? People don't like Ambassador anymore. No, there was something else that came in the market. People's consumer taste changed. People no longer started liking the way Ambassador is. There were many car models like Honda itself. Honda had this model called Brio. What happened? Brio did not have enough consumer liking. Initially, it was like a hit. People were purchasing Brio. There was one more model by Chevrolet. It's called Beat. It was a popularity among youngsters they purchased, but then it did not make those waves which was required. Consumer taste changed. Increased domestic and foreign competition. Foreign players enter the market, and we have so many foreign players. Since I'm just talking about automobiles, I'll keep talking about cars. A lot of foreign players have entered Indian markets. And in fact, we are filled with foreign Indian. We do not have enough Indian auto players, so that may not be the right example. Maybe something else. Look at any other category of product, and if you have too much of foreign competition, people start. It's that mentality, right? Foreign products are much better than Indian products. That mentality makes you go for purchasing foreign products. What if there were no foreign products in India and it's only Indian made products? You somehow some people would prefer it. Like now, Maruti, even though it's Maruti Suzuki, there is still foreign collaboration which is happening. At this decline stage, what is the kind of marketing strategy that a company would employ in order to stick back to the stage? Cost control, cost reduction, obvious strategy. Reduce number of products offered. So what you can try to do, because you're not really making profits, you're making losses. So you cannot sell everything. You just have to phase out products. That's what most of the car companies do. They phase out the products. They see that this product is really this product has gone through a life cycle and it has come down to a declining sales. It's time to take the product out. Only reduce the number of products being offered. Everything else, there were many products which are in the market, and suddenly you start seeing them going out of the market. Exiting smaller segments, weaker trade channels. So you know that your product is doing well in one area but not doing well in the other area. Get out of the areas which is loss making. Get out of channels which are not really help making profits for you. If an online channel is making more profit, completely shift to online. Move out of the offline channels. Why do you want to waste money there? And you can rather use the money to continue on the online channel. Cutting your marketing budgets. You will have to survive and make what do you say, break even. So you will have to try to do those things in such a way that you can cut marketing budgets. There are other techniques though. There's something called harvesting and divesting, which is a concept which is used in uh, for businesses. When businesses start reaching a decline stage, we start calling them sick companies. And what do companies, sick companies, start doing? They harvest and divest and stuff like that. But it's not something that is really majorly followed in products. Products mostly you just try to do cost control, and you either try to reduce the budget, get out of weaker segments, reduce number of products, or phase out the product completely. Those are the marketing strategies at a decline phase. So that's all we have in this video. Here is the summary of what we completely spoke about, as what I completely spoke about rather, in the entire video. Product life cycle, as far as the characteristics are concerned, on your left hand side you see characteristics, marketing objectives and strategies. On the right hand side in the columns you see introduction, growth, maturity, decline, the four stages. Characteristics, each stage: sales, cost, profits, customers, competitors. In terms of marketing objectives, at least I'll read out the marketing objectives. Introduction: create product awareness and trial. Growth: maximize market share. Maturity, maximize profit while defending your market share. You want to stick there. You want it to be a bell-shaped curve. You don't want it to be a steep curve. Decline, reduce expenditure and milk the brand. Okay, the word milk the brand means get more out of it, squeeze. Milking something means squeezing something and getting a lot of milk out of it. I mean, getting a lot of juice out of it. Milk the brand means get more out of the brand. So these are your marketing objectives. You different strategies you'll use with your product, price, distribution, communications. What do you do at each stage? Nicely written down. So I think even if you go through this kind of based on whatever I've explained, if you clearly listen to what I've said in the video on each of these slides, this will be more like a revision. And as far as for you to remember, I think this table is pretty comprehensively done here. Nice summary. Thank you so much. That's all I have for this video. We'll meet up in the next video where we would study about the next concept on products. Let's get deeper into product and understanding what a product is all about. Thank you so much.